Good morning, everybody. John Delarose here, author of For Steam and Country and Star Realms Rescue Run, the leading Hispanic voice in science fiction. We've had a crazy week. First off, I'm signing 12 copies of my beautiful book, which is going out right now, and I don't have a ton of time today, so I'm going to be inscribing and signing these as we talk here. This one's a 2. But it was nutty. I mean, it started out with a lot of attacks and fights from the right, which I don't usually get. I usually get, the hard left people attacking me, obviously. But it was a weird week. I just had I guess some arguments with some folk who don't quite subscribe to the I don't know how I want to put it. Moral values I do, I guess, and at least don't want to fight to the level I do, and so they started hitting me on that, and I don't know what to do about that. But there's good this week too. I mean, so you probably saw my pictures. I mean, somebody bought 5 copies of MAGA 2020, had me sign those earlier in the week. Somebody buying 12 copies of this to have me sign. I'm very happy to. I always try to come up with something clever to inscribe these with, but I'm very, I don't know, I'm not that creative, I guess. So usually I just write tally ho in there because it sounds pretty steampunky. It doesn't have anything to do with the book, but it sounds steampunky, so I like doing that. But there's some other stuff that happened this week too. I think it was pretty funny what went down. If you guys follow Diversity in Comics. He's a YouTube reviewer who reviews comics and kind of, he mostly roasts comics, and he just, he's pretty brutal. I won't lie. I'm not. I can't be that mean because I just, as a writer, I don't want to be that mean to somebody else's product. When I've got my own product and I want somebody to be nice to it. Even if I'm blasting something, I usually try to do it in like a helpful critique sort of way. Rather than that, if you looked at my Ninja K review, I've got that kind of on the writing side. I talked about that earlier this week. But Diversity in Comics, had a very fun run-in with Mark Waid. Mark Waid is a Marvel writer and DC writer from way back. Super extreme SJW guy. He kind of picked a fight with Diversity in Comics over Baltimore Comic Con, and it went nutty. So if you want some fun, find Diversity in Comics YouTube channel and look for that Mark Waid deal from this week. It's definitely worth the look. I laughed pretty hard, and it's really fun watching Hollywood and Washington just blow up. This is the other. This is the other very funny thing that's going down this week. I mean, we saw them blow up with, what was the first one? The Harvey Weinstein thing? That was the first thing, right? But it's just going over and over and over and over and over again, and it's everybody, and it's all accusations, and I don't know what's real, I don't know what's false at this point, I don't really care. I'm just like, I love, the people who think who've been in power for this long lecturing us on our lives, are now not immune to the problems of the world, which is great because they've created most of the problems in the world. So I'm happy with that on that level. It's fun watching everything fall apart. Another fun thing this week was watching. I don't know. William Shatner's tweets is just pure gold. If you are a fan of the president's tweets, great tweets by the president last night too. But if you're a fan of his tweets, you'll like William Shatner's tweets. He is savage on Twitter, man. He gets a lot of weird questions. He's Captain Kirk, so he gets a lot of weird questions from randos, and he handles them gloriously in every regard. I think they're hilarious. So I've been enjoying that. Oops. Tally ho. Should I be writing something other than tally ho in my books? I don't know. I like it. I don't want to write For Steam and Country. For Steam and Country is the battle cry of the book. But since it's on the title, I feel weird writing For Steam and Country in For Steam and Country. It's kind of redundant. It already says it on the opening page anyway. I don't know. So I write Tally Ho. What else is going down this week? I saw the Pokemon movie. It's Pokemon I Choose You. I know you probably don't care about that, but I like to find good entertainment to watch with my kids. They did a special screening of that. They did like 4 screenings of it or something like that. And it was a retelling of the generic sort of Pokemon deal where they're hunting for the legendary and all that. My kids loved it. I don't know that I can watch a movie anymore without the big thing I'm doing now. Who did I read last year? Cool. The big thing I do whenever I read a book or whenever I go to a movie or whenever I go to read a comic book now, I sit there and go, how would I rewrite this to make it better? And it ruins everything. I cannot enjoy something anymore for the most part, and it sucks. But I definitely thought about how I would rewrite the Pokemon movie to make it both more exciting, a little shorter, and make a little more sense. The ending was like, what? This doesn't make any sense. Laura Campbell is possessed. Who is Laura Campbell? Laura Campbell. I'm going to Google this. Laura Campbell. We found Laura Campbell. She's an actress? General Hospital. I actually don't know who this is, genuinely. But, I don't know. What do we do? What's going on? She's Scottish from Milton? I don't know. I didn't see anything in my quick Google search that shows anything interesting. So I don't know who that is, sorry. So those are the things that have gone on this week. The other thing is my diet. So I've got my diet. I was complaining about it the first couple days on Periscope pretty loudly. I'm doing Tom Brady's diet, and I've lost 10 pounds. I don't know if it shows on the camera or whatever, but I've lost 10 pounds in 2 weeks. It's crazy. It's no carbs, so I get really tired real fast at night. And I've actually, the unfortunate part is I'm now 2 weeks behind on watching the Orville. I like to review the Orville every week on Friday. That's what I attempt to do because I love the Orville. And I have not watched the last 2 episodes, and I'm kind of sad about that. So I don't know. Have you guys watched the Orville? Is it any good? Tell me about the Orville. Don't spoil it though. I just want to know if it's good. Anybody? Nobody's watching the Orville, huh? Or is there a lag? Is there a lag on the comments on Periscope here? Looks like there's a lag. All right, 2 Avery. All right. So I'm now 5. All right, I got 5 signed. I don't know how you haven't seen it yet either. Yeah. So I've recorded it, of course, but I've not been able to watch it, unfortunately. Did anybody see Justice League? That's interesting right there. That came out at a midnight release last night or Wednesday night. I read some early comments on Justice League that it opens up with like a white guy harassing Arab types, and then the white guy goes on to do a terrorist act on London, and that makes me and the guy said it's filled with further sort of social justice like brainwashing tropes throughout that. So I'm a little nervous on that. I don't know. I mean, I've stopped going to movies for the most part. I don't really want to support Hollywood. I mean, if you think about it, if you go to a movie and pay $15 to, I went to the Pokemon movie because whatever. But if you go pay $15 for a movie to see, Captain America or Thor or whatever, all these guys are SJWs, right? So from the writers to the producers to the actors to the directors, you are supporting that kind of culture in a big way when you're paying that kind of money to go see those films. And we're seeing the result of the culture right here. Every day we open up the news and see a problem, and it's stemming from these exact people. If you don't like the sexual harassment crap going on at every level of young boys and girls, you can't really fund it because all these. If you think Harvey Weinstein is the only producer, when the casting couch is a trope that we talk about, right? If you think that's the case, if it's just a one-off, you're deluding yourself. It's every producer up the chain is engaging in this kind of behavior. And, you know, I mean, do you want to give, because they're the producers are the ones with the most skin in the game who get the most money, right? Do you want to pay for that? That's what it comes down to. And Disney, Marvel Disney, is really going off just in their content in a really awful brainwashing sort of way. I mean, if you want to look at that, just kind of look into Disney and their sort of their push for social justice and everything. It's getting out of control. So I don't know. So I don't really go to see the superhero movies. I know most people would probably like me to review them. You know, I also don't have time. I got kids, and you know, going out with my wife, like, if I'm going to go out with my wife, am I really going to use it to go see Justice League or Thor or whatever? I mean, you know, I've got better things to do with my time, unfortunately. I mean, those movies I'm sure are fine, but I'm also really burnt out on the superhero movie. I don't know about you. Just on a global level, it's like they can't produce a good guy action movie now without a superhero brand attached to it. And I'm kind of bored of it. I really want, you know, I want the old days of like Die Hard and things like that. You know, I want a movie like that where it's just really good action romp. You know, I went to see, which one did I see? Last one I think I saw of that was Triple X. Look, Triple X is over the top stupid, but but you know what? I had so much fun the whole way through that movie. It was worth actually going out and seeing. So that was the last one I kind of went to. Death Wish, is that? Is it Bruce Willis doing it? Yeah. You're tired of watching hero movies without any heroes. Ooh, that is brutal. That is brutal commentary right there. But I would like to see Bruce Willis doing his thing. Gosh, I'm losing track of the names. The problem is I'm trying to inscribe these and talk at the same time. If you think this is easy, try to write something that you are intentionally trying to write and actually talk at the same time. It is a very difficult thing to do, but I'm learning how to do it right now, and you guys are cool for sticking with me through that. And I missed those. Wonder Woman I didn't see either, and I wish I saw Wonder Woman. I heard it was pretty good, and I heard it actually wasn't as nutty as most Hollywood films end up, which is kind of shocking for that property. I thought that'd go full tilt, but I might see it eventually. I mean, that gal, whatever her name is, she seems like a reasonable person. Which is unusual for Hollywood. I'm hoping I spell all this stuff right. Bruce isn't Charles Bronson, but it looks like an entertaining take on the original. Yeah, I mean, I like Bruce quite a bit. I mean, you know, he seems to be on. Yeah, he seems to be kind of on our side, which is nice. I don't think anybody. I don't think anybody. Good to know. I don't think anybody in Hollywood can come up anymore and have Bruce Willis's values or sort of Bruce Willis's tough man persona anymore. I mean, if you look, even the action heroes, it's like they kind of cast guys who are willing to be on the casting couch now for that sort of thing. So they kind of come off as a little weaker than the last generation of action heroes. They're a lot more concerned with their appearances and less concerned with actually just being the tough guy who's doing what's right. And that's what's kind of hurting our action genre. I mean, if we get kind of gay guys in those roles, nothing against gay guys, but it doesn't quite pan out right for the alpha male trope. It's kind of a different deal. It makes sense. I mean, people get typecast, but people just with their physique and their persona and the way they look and talk can only play certain roles, credibly to a certain extent, right? I mean, I wouldn't go through and be able to play Sheldon on Big Bang Theory, right? But Sheldon also wouldn't be a good Bruce Willis type character from Die Hard, right? So, there's give and take, and Hollywood's kind of just cut out any alpha male personality whatsoever in order to, I guess, keep their degeneracy going. But it's kind of sad. That's what I think about that. Oh, I'm gonna. Is there any functional society not in decline? Yeah. Yeah, we're the non-hero society at this point. And that's what we've come down to, and I think that's a big problem. It came from our Gen. It's Gen X's fault. So Vox is talking about this a lot on his blog. He's hitting the baby boomers, going, "You baby boomers, you suck. We're Gen X." Okay, I'm not Gen X, Vox. You're at fault, Gen X. So Gen X has this just hyper negative attitude about everything. They're so jaded and just kind of on the dark, angry side of everything. And that's why every freaking piece of literature, every freaking piece of TV and movie has this sort of dark element to it where the hero is not really a hero. It's an anti-hero maybe, but he's really got different motivations and he's not the real archetypal hero, right? And this ruins movies also, right? Because you don't come out of seeing that sort of thing feeling fulfilled as a viewer. You come out of it feeling kind of gross, right? When you watch Game of Thrones, you feel like you need to just bleach your eyes out, right, afterwards. But it's not like when you watch what's a good example of just like, it's not like when you watch True Grit, like the Clint Eastwood, was Clint Eastwood True Grit, or was that John Wayne? It was John Wayne, huh? It's not like when you watch any John Wayne movie. Let's look at that. I've got 20 John Wayne movies. When you watch any John Wayne movie, you come out of it and John Wayne is going to be, he's going to do what's right. He's going to live by an honor code, and he doesn't give a flying rat's of what the consequences are, because he's going to do what's right no matter what. And it gets the drama tension going, because he goes into situations which are really tough and that it takes a true man to go into. But he always comes out of them at the other side, and in doing what's right, he's rewarded for doing what's right. And that psychologically, to our human brains, we want that in our entertainment because it feels good, and it also helps us cope with life and make our life decisions better. And so that's what Hollywood did to an extent for a long time, and they kind of gave up on that. And it's kind of Gen X's fault, because everything's dark now, and now we're seeing Gen Y. So as it's transitioning even from those in terms of art and story creating, Gen X was just, we're negative. It's like that Nirvana song where it's like, I'm a negative creep, right? That is Gen X personified, right? So Gen Y is like, Gen Y sees everybody being negative and everybody being awful because Gen X presented everything as awful, and Gen Y is just like, they're the whiner generation, right? So they're just like, ugh, everybody's a negative creep. They suck. Ugh. And so as our culture spirals to this, I mean, I'm going to go back to Tom King's Batman. Everybody's talking up Tom King's Batman, and you know what? I don't want to throw shade at it too much. The art's beautiful, the storytelling actually flows pretty well. The guy knows what he's doing. But on the front of Batman as a character, Batman has taken, like Christian Bale took. So I mean, let's look at our digression. It's not a progression; it's a digression. Adam West Batman was. This is a silly concept of a dude who dresses up in tights as a bat, and it's silly. So we're going to present it as silly, but him and Robin are do-gooders to a silly extreme extent. Here we go. Then you get into the Michael Keaton Batman, where we're going to make it a little darker and a little edgier for the Gen X kids to like this, but we're still going to keep the Tim Burton silly stuff going on a little bit. But Batman's still certainly a hero, and Bruce Wayne, he just gets the ladies. He's a bad mofo, right? That's the digression, and it still worked great. Then you get into Christian Bale, right? So now the Gen Xers are making it instead of being appealed to it. So Christian Bale Batman, I'm Batman, I'm dark, I'm angry, and everything's way dark, and he just beats the crap out of everybody, and it's just very violent and dark, right? But Bruce Wayne you don't connect to Bruce Wayne as much in that sort of element because there's you're losing the idealism of the hero at that point, which is the whole concept of this to begin with. The idealism of the hero goes away through this whole progression. Now I'm looking at Tom King's Batman, and he's a psychological mess because he's a step down from the Christian Bale Batman. So he's still dark, he's still edgy, he's still angry. But now he's at a point where he's actually seen all of his adventures. He's watched all of his adventures of all the comics that have gone before. And he says, oh, I've done nothing for this city. I'm useless. I'm Batman. I'm so alone. I'm lonely. I can't cope with this. I'm just trying to cope with my parents' death still. I just hate life. I need a shrink. Now we've got the Gen Y generation of the entitled, I'm not making a difference, I'm useless. That's your hero. If you're reading that and that's supposed to be the freaking, Batman is our archetypal hero of, he's the billionaire, he's got the gadgets, he doesn't have powers, he makes it all work because of his hard work and dedication, and he's just a miserable psych case now. As much as those are written okay, it's pretty rough. When I was in the Army, I served with some deadly men who had served in SF and Ranger Bats. Yeah. The darkness is meant to be deep, but it's barely shallow. That is a beautiful, beautiful way to put it, and I agree with you 100%. It is the shallowest of the shallow, and here's why. You present, it's easy. It's really easy to present a negative, deep, heavy negative emotions and get an emotional response out of your audience. That is the easy route. It's the easy, simple route for writers, for musicians, for any of that. Every single time. It's the cheap way out to try to... I'll talk about For Steam and Country for a bit. Most of you guys have probably read this. In my first draft, because I was corrupted by this culture for a long time. In my first draft, I had... I don't think I made it all the way through the first draft. In my first idea, and I changed this on the way through, I killed Baron von Monocle at the end of this. So what happened would have been Zara goes to rescue... I'm sorry if I spoiled my book. Zara goes to rescue her father, who's been pronounced dead for a while. She's inherited her airship. She's working on it. And I, in my original draft, had her fail. Basically, von Monocle... she got in there, did her thing, came of age, and he died anyway. Okay, so as a hero, when you're presenting that sort of thing, which is what Tom King's Batman's doing, by the way, he's got, Batman does his thing, he sort of wins, but there's huge consequences, and the whole city's just messed up, because and it might be his fault, we don't even know, right? So, when you get that, you don't get the pathos sense, is it ethos or pathos in this instance? Whatever it is. I'm not that smart to know all the Greek words for real. So, without looking them up. But you don't get the sense of accomplishment. You don't get the fulfillment of the hero in that journey because the hero is not actually accomplishing anything. So, yes, you get the cheap emotional moment where you go to the reader, where the reader freaks out because they see the dude die or whatever. You get that cheap thrill. And people, because what happens is, with the cheap thrill, I can then, so if I'm watching some movie and I go on Twitter afterwards and go, oh my gosh, I can't believe this guy from The Walking Dead died this week. Well, you get a lot of retweets of that and a lot of public people then tuning in to look at the train wreck, right? So you get the train wreck effect there where people then tune in for that. And that it's tempting because you can build an audience very easily and very quickly through the shock effect, right? And that's what we got. Because Gen X was all about the shock effect, and then Gen Y saw the shock effect and they took it to a different level. So if you look at the violent content that went up in the 90s went very violent. Then once we started getting into the Gen Y content, well, that doesn't shock the generation that grew up with Halo, Are they even Gen Y? I don't even know. It's false pathos. That's a good way to put it. So Gen Y grew up with Halo. They're not going to be shocked by that. So that's when you get Michael Bay. And if you look at a Michael Bay film, it's just it's so stupid. The explosions and the violence don't make sense in any sort of context whatsoever. Sorry, I gotta sign these. I'm almost done with this, and that's why I'm taking so long. I usually try to keep these Periscopes pretty short, but it's very hard, as I said, to write something and talk at the same time. But that's what we ended up with, and Star Trek Into Darkness is a great example of that, of just where it fails. Because, you get Spock fist fighting on the top of a spaceship while it's crashing. It makes no sense. There's no way somebody could stand on the top of a spaceship. It's just retarded. Sorry, am I allowed to? Did I offend you? I didn't mean to use that word. I don't care. Sorry, I don't care. But it's that's where we've gone with all elements of our culture. Superman, Man of Steel, another one. I got fatigued from that. I mean, that fight between him and Zod or whatever went on for like 20, 30 minutes, and it was just a fight scene for 20, 30 minutes. Fist, 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 blood, 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 destruction, destruction, destruction. I mean, oh my gosh, I was not interested in the end of that. I was just like, please get this over with. And that's unfortunately the type of culture that we are getting produced these days. And it is, and it's, as I said, it's cheap. It is forcing your emotional response on the shallow level, like somebody mentioned, where you get that hold your breath real quick, but you aren't actually connecting to the character, and you're not actually mentally and emotionally connecting. So it doesn't have that whole cyclical synergy where you really get something out of storytelling these days. Now, am I the best at this? I have no idea. I think I write okay. I think my books are enjoyable. Do I? Oh gosh, it's really hard to keep these books. All right, I think I write enjoyable. I don't know that I'm not trying to be some literary giant, and I don't consider that, and I don't even think about it when I'm writing, because I don't think you can. The other problem is when you try to write to literary, you can't, because people who write to literary, you don't know what's going to matter in 100 years. So if you try to write to literary, you obviously go. Great point again. You go to current events and try to shoehorn current events into things. But current events now will not. I mean, who knows who wants to write literature yet? Who knows what's important in 6 months? I mean, I really wanted to, even just from a pulp standpoint, I really wanted to get a comic out, 10 years ago. I wanted to write Mecha Zombie Bin Laden, right? Where Bin Laden, they shot his casket to sea or some stuff like that. And, I was going to be like, threat from the deep, and Bin Laden, like, comes out of the ocean like Swamp Thing or something. And it was going to be awesome. Well, while that sounds awesome, doing a Bin Laden comic, if I didn't get that out within, that 6 month span after his death, nobody cares. It's, we've forgotten about it and we've moved on to Scandal Y or whatever, So, I mean, none of that stuff matters. And so you can't write to current events and have any sort of relevancy whatsoever, because, at least in the long term, because it's not relevant 6 months from now, let alone a year from now, or 10 years from now, or 100 years from now. And that's what we see. Now, I think, you can kind of 10 years, with 10 years in the hindsight, you can kind of get into the period piece mode. I'm writing a comic right now, which is going to be set in post shock and awe Iraq, where they're trying to keep the peace. And I'm kind of going back and using that, but just as a setting piece. But you can't write to current events. It just, you can't, unless you're Chuck Tingle. Chuck Tingle can get them out fast enough that it happened. It happened 30 minutes ago, and Chuck Tingle's got a short story of it. He is the only exception to that rule. So now that I've devolved into talking about Chuck Tingle, thank you. I've signed all my books. Here's my stack. Here's a stack of all the books I signed. These were purchased the other day. I've got a few left. I've got 2 books left. So if somebody wants one for Christmas or the holidays, shoot me a DM. I'm happy to sign those and send those to you. If you already have my book and want to mail it to me and have me mail it back, I can do that too. But I've got 2 copies left personally. How about a comic about Hollywood becoming populated by pedo zombies? We don't need a comic about that because that's reality. So, All right. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for kind of watching me try to sign and talk at the same time. I hope it was fun. Honestly, even though there was some tax and weird stuff this week, I had a great week. I had fun. I'm crushing it on my NaNoWriMo for Steam and Country 2. And I hope you guys are having a great National Novel Writing Month too. Keep creating, keep spreading the word, and we are going to make culture better. Bye.